Hello everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of What If Goku Died on Namek. If you're needing to catch up at all, the playlist for this series will be down in the description below. Once you're caught back up, you can come back here, and without any further delays, let's go ahead and just get to the video. With the defeat of Babidi and his minions, our dragon team gets around a year of peace, continuing to grow stronger as we discussed previously. However, this peace will not last forever. Within the demon realm, Gomah and Degasu watch the events of the previous saga taking place through some magic mirrors. They're struck with shock at how quickly and efficiently their former Demon King Dabura, along with Babidi and his other minions, were taken care of by Piccolo and Gohan. They note that Piccolo is actually a demon due to his pointy ears, before they have the mirrors move over to the tournament. Gomah and Degasu are both surprised as they watch the awe-inspiring fight between Goku and Vegeta, wondering how these people from the outside world could be so powerful. After the final matchup in the tournament, the Dragon Team celebrates together with a meal, with Shenron being summoned. For Goku's final day on Earth, he'd even get to reunite with Shenron. Gomah watched on, taking note that Earth's dragon is distinct from the demon realms, also noting that the Dragon Ball requirement is different. Gomah watches on in disbelief as he witnesses Bumma using Shenron's wish for such casual things as makeup and fashion to make herself look younger, something Bumma would definitely do in character. After granting Bulma's wish for a more youthful appearance, Shenron would ask what her other two wishes are, where Degasu connects the dots and realizes that the Earth's dragon has 3 wishes. The others say they have no more wishes to make, so Shenron would depart along with the Dragon Balls after granting Bulma's wish. As Gomah moves the mirrors further, he witnesses Goku reuniting with Piccolo on the lookout, where he notices there's another, much older Namekian up there alongside Piccolo, who reminds him of Neva, though he doesn't seem to be as senile. From here, Gomah still discusses with Degasu about his plans to use the Earth's Dragon Balls. He's still anxious about the threat of those fighters who killed Dabura invading the Demon Realm, so he plans to turn them into kids, wanting to use Earth's Dragon as he knows the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls would be too difficult to acquire from the Tamagamis. Not having a clue that Glorio was overhearing everything. Neva would soon arrive, leaving in a ship alongside Gomah and Degasu, with the trio making their way towards Earth, finding out that Dr. Arensu had also previously visited Earth, though they have no idea what that reason was for. Meanwhile at Capsule Corp, the Dragon Team has gathered together, celebrating Trunks' 9th birthday, with Gohan showing up alongside Videl and Mr. Satan. Now before we get into the main bits of Daima, I'm gonna cover some important character developments that have occurred between Babidi's defeat and now. Firstly, I'll talk about Hercule. Although Mr. Satan himself never beat Cell here, and wouldn't be as famous as he was in the canon timeline, I think he'd still be largely popular here because of his victory in the 24th World Tournament. Maybe the one big difference here is he wouldn't have a city named after himself, but I doubt that would really affect Videl going to Orange Star High, meeting Gohan, and things going on from there. Speaking of Gohan, let's talk a little bit about him. Lately, Gohan hasn't been training as much himself, focusing on his family more, as he'd begun seeing less of a need for training. Sure, he was training here and there in the gravity room Bulma gave him, but the last big threat to Earth, Babidi, wasn't really much trouble for them to deal with. On top of doubting the severity of any potential threats to the Earth nowadays, Gohan's heard from Vegeta about his training with Piccolo with the Supreme Kais, and Gohan's been able to sense how strong they've become from Earth. Gohan by this point is starting to become like how he was throughout Super Canonically, where he believed in Goku and Vegeta to deal with everything for them, and now he's beginning to follow the same line of thinking just a bit earlier on with Piccolo and Vegeta. And I mean, you can't really blame Gohan. The last big threat he fought himself was Frieza here. That was around 12 years ago. The last big threat that was a danger to everyone, which Gohan also was involved with and fought himself, was back when he was a child. The androids were tough, sure, but after they took down everyone, they just disappeared and haven't really been seen in years. Now that he's thinking about it, he's kind of wondering how they're doing. Cell was definitely a threat, though Gohan never actually fought Cell himself here, as Vegeta and Trunks were the ones to deal with him. As for Babidi, Piccolo killed him, but he was weak anyways. Gohan did deal with Pui and Yakon himself, but they were pretty weak. Dabura was actually strong, definitely the most powerful foe they faced up to that point, but Piccolo was able to deal with him efficiently without needing Gohan or Vegeta to step in. And from sensing how strong he was back then, Gohan or Vegeta could have also dealt with Dabura if necessary. Now Buu would have 100% been a massive threat if he was released, but nobody knows how strong he potentially could have been if he was released, besides what Shin has told them about how strong Buu was the last time he saw him. And after all of that was dealt with, Gohan is wanting to continue pursuing being a scholar like he'd been doing this entire time pretty much in the story, though nowadays his balance of training and studies was much more difficult to maintain. Gohan was with Videl now, along with helping Chi-Chi raise Goten, on top of Gohan also pursuing his studies. Helping to raise Goten was definitely a chore sometimes, though Videl being there to help out was a lifesaver, and Videl helping out with Goten Japan was the only chance he could ever get nowadays to do a little training, which he'd do by sparring with Krillin, Trunks, or Bra now that she was old enough to begin training herself. Overall, Gohan at this point just didn't see training as a necessity anymore. He hasn't lost any transformations or anything, but his combat skill has definitely become rusty. With all of that lore from Gohan covered, we can now get back to the celebration. Gohan would walk up to Vegeta and greet him, saying that he did look kinda silly in that Kai outfit, then asking if he's seen Piccolo around, as he hasn't shown up on Earth in months. Vegeta responds that Piccolo's with the Kais, though just give him a sec and he'll bring him here. Vegeta then vanishes with the Kai, reappearing with Piccolo, Shin, and Kibito. Gohan would ask Piccolo what he's been up to, with Piccolo and Vegeta catching Gohan up on everything, along with the other Z fighters. Piccolo and Vegeta have been training with the Kais, though after Vegeta learned all the things he could from Shin and Kibito, he's been training there far less. Vegeta still pops up there with the Kai decently often to train with Piccolo, though Vegeta has his own life to attend to. Vegeta's a family man here, caring a lot more about being closer with Bulma, Trunks, and Bra. He not only wants to train his kids, but ensure they grow up well. As for Piccolo, he's been constantly training with the Kais, practically living on their planet since all he needs to sustain himself is water, along with not really having any earthly duties to attend to, like Gohan and Vegeta. Sure, Piccolo does have a connection with Kami, but that's mainly just due to their lives being linked, though Piccolo does come to visit him a little. Like I discussed before, Piccolo learned everything from Shin and Kibito, like Vegeta has done. Shin's paralysis, the Kai, magic, creating things like Kachin, Kibito's healing, and even the Elder Kai's ability to create crystal balls, which Piccolo uses to watch over the Earth, keeping an eye out for danger. He'd even use his own crystal ball one day to look around space, finding his own hobby when not training or meditating by learning the geography of the universe, though he mainly just watches all the planets from an outside perspective. He'd find some planets like Vampa that are just seemingly barren wastelands from an outside view looking in, so he's got no reason to look into worlds like that. Imagine it like how astronomers in the real world can spot planets from here on Earth, but obviously we can't really 100% tell if any exoplanets out there have any life without going there and examining it ourselves. Like, if we saw Vampa in real life on a telescope, we probably wouldn't be assuming there's any life on there, due to the constant storms and how barren of a planet it is. So Piccolo's kinda doing the same thing, just pursuing his own way of astronomy by mapping out various galaxies and solar systems throughout the universe. The only planets Piccolo would actually look into more thoroughly, though, were Earth and New Namek. He kept an eye on Earth, obviously, as that's where he's grown up, and he also keeps an eye out there to look out for danger. As for New Namek, he had been wanting to find it ever since the predicament with the androids and Cell. Back then, the main reason he declined fusing with Kami was because of the fact they'd not have any more Dragon Balls, along with having no way to find New Namek at that point in time. Now that Piccolo has been able to observe New Namek and see that his people have been doing okay since Frieza's attack many years ago, he decides to go visit Kami. Piccolo would stand up and hands the crystal ball over to the Elder Kai, telling him, along with Kibito and Shin, that he'll be back soon. Piccolo Kai's away, appearing on the lookout, with Kami and Popo turning to greet him. Kami's been getting older, knowing he's reaching the end of his natural lifespan. Piccolo would then speak, saying that it's finally time that they become one again and fuse, putting his hand on Kami's chest. Kami smiles as Popo begins to tear up, though Kami is fully ready to accept this, as by this point, he's seen Piccolo grow and change a lot. Piccolo's grown both as a fighter and as a person, with Kami glad that he's nothing like his father, King Piccolo, anymore. He trusts Piccolo, stating that he knows his own usefulness has expired on Earth. And with that said, Kami yells out, and in a flash of light, he's gone, with both Piccolo and Kami reunited, having become the nameless Namekian once again. Though obviously, I'm just gonna stick to calling him Piccolo. Across Earth, the other Z-Warriors were able to sense Piccolo's gigantic spike in power from reuniting with Kami, with most of them quickly arriving to the lookout, wondering if he was preparing for a new threat. But Piccolo says no. Piccolo tells them that it was definitely overdue, but he and Kami have finally fused together. Krillin speaks up and asks him about what they'll do without any Dragon Balls, to which Piccolo smiles. He's already figured that out. He nods to Vegeta, asking everyone to gather together. They all do so, with the Z-Fighters then being Kai'd to New Namek, including some who were never able to go there in the first place, like Chaozu, Tien, and Yamcha. The Namekians were happy to see the Dragon Team after so long, surprised to see how much Gohan had grown up, and Gohan was surprised to see how much Dende, along with the others, had grown up too. Although the Namekians were wary of Vegeta due to his previous crimes on their planet, they're very surprised to see Vegeta apologizing to them. Vegeta, after all of his growth, truly has come to regret the things he did to the Namekians, along with the terrible things in general he did while serving under Frieza. Vegeta vows that if the Namekians are ever in danger again, he will show up first, and ensure that none of them die, as he can always teleport here together with the Kai, Gohan, Piccolo, and the Grand Elder Mori smile as the Elder puts his hand on Vegeta's head. He begins to read Vegeta's mind, realizing that he truly is regretful for his misdeeds all those years ago. Mori would then ask where Goku is, to which he and the other Namekians are saddened at the fact he's chosen to stay dead. Piccolo would then speak up about why they came here in the first place, explaining his fusion with Kami and the fact they have no more Dragon Balls on Earth. That issue would be solved quickly though, as Dende happily offers to become the new Guardian of Earth. So, after the Dragon Team reconciles with the Namekians, they'd gather together, wishing everybody on New Namek well as they Kai back to Earth with Dende. And so, Dende becomes the new Guardian of Earth, not even really needing to upgrade Shenron due to him already having 3 wishes. This being thanks to Kami upgrading the dragon long ago. After Dende becomes the new Guardian of Earth, Piccolo's business there is done, and so he'd depart back to his training with the Kais, as the Z Fighters also return to their normal lives, this being the last time they had seen Piccolo. Piccolo would return to his training, though after fusing with Kami, he already had plenty of physical power. Now, he was by far the strongest Z Fighter, with a pretty big gap between himself and Vegeta, who was second place. Piccolo has already mastered his ultimate Namekian form by this point, and now that he's officially the top dog, he decides to hone his spirit more, rather than continue with physical training. Vegeta had begun coming here less and less often to train, so Piccolo finds another way to pass the time besides learning universal geography. Piccolo begins creating his own techniques by combining abilities he's already had with the new things he's learned from the Kais. So, what are these new techniques? Well, I don't know. Piccolo's also been gatekeeping them from everybody, including me. All Piccolo said to me is that he wants to keep these abilities a big surprise for the next big battle. So, I guess we'll just have to see later on. Kibito, Shin, and the old Kai know what his new abilities are, but they won't spill the beans either. So anyway, back to the story. That's pretty much everything covered for the events before Daima. So now we can return to Trunks' birthday party. Gohan responds that he's surprised. He and Vegeta were pretty busy themselves with their own families, but he had no idea Piccolo was doing so much. After all, it had been months since anyone besides Vegeta had seen Piccolo. With all the lore being caught up on, they'd all then dig into the feast that Bumma had brought them. And now that they finally had a chance after such a long time, Gohan and Vegeta would decide to spar. Piccolo would simply watch as the two spar, deciding to just kind of relax and just catch up with everybody. After all, it was good to just unwind sometimes. As they spar, Dende and Mr. Popo would notice the sudden appearance of a spaceship on the lookout. When the Demon Realm inhabitants leave the ship, they notice Dende and inform him of his ancestry as a demon. Gomah demands that the Dragon Balls be brought to him, though Dende refuses. So instead, Neva uses his abilities to summon all the Dragon Balls to the lookout. But this time, they're not stone. Although Shenron was summoned to reunite with Goku, he only granted a singular wish for Bulma, which means that after a year, he would 100% be active again and ready to grant anyone's wishes. Although Dende attempts to stop them from summoning Shenron, he's quickly knocked out by Degusu, and thus, they'd summon the dragon. For the first wish, Gomah turns all of the fighters that defeated Bobby and Deborah, along with all of their friends, back into kids. Shenron grants the wish, though he tells Gomah that first-timers only get one wish, and as regulars get all 3. Though now that he thinks about it, the only consistent regular he's got these days is Bulma with her cosmetic wishes. But that's besides the point. With that, Shenron would depart, and an annoyed Gomah would decide to take the now baby Dende with him, so that the Dragon Balls can't be used on Earth. So, he along with Degusu and Neva returned to the Demon Realm, having taken Dende only months after he became the new Guardian of Earth. After the initial shock of everyone being turned back into kids, Shin tells them that he and Kibito had sent something on the lookout, with Kibito teleporting Gohan, Vegeta, and Piccolo over there. Mr. Popo informs them of what happened, and Piccolo scoffs. The one time he finally wanted to relax and dropped his guard at the party, this happened. Now from here, Daima would go on relatively the same for a bit. I would like to go into more detail, but I'll just cover the basics. As the only big change is that I'm having Gohan obviously replace Goku here. A pretty simple change to make, as for some reason Gohan was never involved or shown in Daima originally, so we'll bring him into the story here. Gohan goes to the Demon Realm first with Gloria and Shin, as Piccolo and Vegeta follow afterwards in another ship with Bulma and Hybus. We'd get to see some cool scenes of a kid Gohan using Super Saiyan and amazing Kadon's forces with his might, though I don't see a whole lot changing in the third and second Demon Worlds honestly. Gohan would defeat Tamagami number 3 with his exceptional power in Super Saiyan 2, along with beating the Tamagami in the Shell game, surprising the warrior with his smarts and intelligence. So, Gohan's group is then given the first Dragon Ball. Now when we get to Marba and Arinsu, this is gonna be where the first major change of Daima takes place. I never mentioned what happened to Boo's egg in the previous part for a reason, as Arinsu would end up kidnapping Boo's egg. After everyone had left Babidi's ship to go finish up the World Martial Arts Tournament, Arinsu would steal Boo's egg under everyone's nose. Because everybody was distracted by Goku and Vegeta's fight, this allowed Arinsu to go unnoticed as she brought Boo's egg with her back to the Demon Realm. To fit Boo's large egg onto her ship, she would have just temporarily shrunken it down with some of her magic, and now we arrive at the Witch Marba, who was originally responsible for creating Boo. Using fragments of Boo's cocoon, Marba creates Majin Ku, and he still falls to Tamagami number 1. Vegeta would still take down Tamagami number 2 after showing off Super Saiyan 3 for the first time, something he had been hiding as a surprise to use against Piccolo. After defeating the Tamagami and solving his riddle, Vegeta's group is then given the Dragon Ball from the second Demon Realm. Meanwhile, another piece of Boo's cocoon is used to form Majin Du, who successfully defeats Tamagami number 1. With help from Ku, he solves the questions the Tamagami asks him, and they're given the Dragon Ball from the first Demon Realm. After Arinsu takes the Dragon Ball, she returns to Boo's egg, making a quick detour before she plans to go back to the battlefield. Arinsu borrows some energy from Majin Ku along with Majin Du, promising that this was the last bit she needed. As the Dragon Team enters the first Demon Realm, they abandon their ship, where they deal with and defeat Gomah's forces. After taking down most of the military, Piccolo discusses with the others about their next action, and they decide that first, they'll rescue Dende, then get the final Dragon Ball. Gohan finds Degasu holding a baby Dende hostage, though before he could do anything to hurt the child, Vegeta Kaikai's behind Degasu and knocks him out with a simple chop to the neck, and Pansy would pick up Dende. Degasu would then be taken away by Kadan's army, and with Dende now rescued, they prepare to fight Tamagami number 1. As they notice and begin to question why his Dragon Ball is missing, Arinsu arrives with Majin Ku, Majin Du, and Majin Buu, with Ku holding the Dragon Ball in his hands. Shin's face immediately is struck with terror as he saw that Arinsu had Majin Buu by her side. But how? They stopped Babidi, and by extension, Boo's arrival. Shin was extremely concerned, as due to them all being stuck as children, he knew they couldn't fight Boo the way they were now. Arinsu laughs at Shin's concern, and as she explains how she brought Boo to the Demon Realm and revived him under their noses, Boo and Du turned and looked at each other curiously. Shin had told everyone that Boo was a pure instrument of terror and fear, though right now, Majin Buu and Majin Du were holding hands, bouncing up and down, messing around without a care in the world. Gohan couldn't help but laugh, and everyone looked kinda dumbfounded, including Arinsu. Yeah, Boo's energy was crazy strong compared to the power they had while stuck as kids, but those two were totally harmless. Piccolo then spoke up, trying to bargain with Arinsu for the Dragon Ball, as that's all they really could do right now since they stood no chance against Boo in their kid bodies. Well, Piccolo realizes he might have a good chance after his fusion with Kami, but he knows the others definitely wouldn't have a chance. Majin Ku comedically sighs as Arinsu kept trying to get Boo and Du's attention while they played. Finally, once she offers them both some candy, they immediately stop and begin to eat the candy together, with Arinsu offering for one of her fighters to fight them for all of the Dragon Balls. Though, as they're discussing this potential fight, Gomah arrives on the battlefield. He was now sporting the evil third eye and had become much larger in size. Gomah speaks up, apologizing for his interruption, but he was curious about the ruckus going on outside. However, it seemed their attention wasn't completely on him. Gomah's eyes then moved across the area as he analyzed everything, and he felt a slight hint of fear upon seeing Boo. He had heard descriptions of the terrifying Majin Buu, and this big pink guy fit those rumors, but there's no way that was him. Boo was messing around like a toddler. He looked ridiculous. There was no way that was the Majin Buu he'd been told so many horror stories about. No matter, he'd take down all of them. After all, with the evil third eye, nobody could stop him. Arinsu tells Boo and Du to stop messing around, and after having to bribe them once again with chocolates and candy, they listened. Arinsu commands Boo to attack Gomah, and after being told he'd get some candy to eat, Boo giggles and says, okay. Gomah's eyes go wide as he witnesses Boo rocket from the ground like a speeding bullet, slamming into him, and the two are sent away, with Boo and Gomah beginning to fight. As much as the Z-Fighters wanted to jump in between this clash of titans, they knew they weren't strong enough to make a difference while they were still children. The only exception here would be Piccolo, but even he didn't know what to do here. He was strong enough to fight one of them, but he wasn't sure if he could fight Gomah and Boo at the same time while stuck as a kid. Plus, he doesn't even know if he should really help out either side. Piccolo says that if they're lucky, those two will just kill kill each other and then they won't have to worry about anything. Although Shin was a little relieved that their two strongest opponents were fighting each other, he was concerned about where this fight would end up going. He didn't like the feeling of this. Majin Buu is clearly overpowering Gomah, putting him on the back foot. However, Buu doesn't overpower Gomah to the point where he can just outright kill him in one go. He uses his strange body to completely ragdoll Gomah, giggling the entire time as he does so. However, Buu overpowering Gomah causes the third eye to begin adapting. The eye on Gomah's forehead begins to shine, blasting Buu back from Gomah as the Demon King begins to quickly evolve, his power rising. Buu continued to just laugh and giggle as he fought, treating this like a simple game, as he fought what he called the Big Scary Man. Buu does notice though that his hits began to do less and less damage as the seconds ticked by. Soon, the tables turned as the third eye allowed Gomah to adapt even more to Buu's strength, with Gomah now beginning to pummel the Pink Majin around. As Gomah flips the battle into his favor, Arinsu tells Glorio to summon the dragon and grant her wish. Glorio would hesitate though, before he finally gathers the 3 Dragon Balls. While everyone else is stunned as they watch the intense fight between Gomah and Majin Buu, Glorio summons the Demon Realm's red version of Purunga. Glorio speaks in the Namekian language, and his wish would then be granted. Arinsu is ecstatic, waiting for her boost in power, but it never comes. All of the Dragon Team then begin to glow yellow, as they all transform from kids back to their adult forms. Now having their power back, they know they can definitely make a difference in the fight if they go in together. As they recollected themselves though and were getting used to their adult bodies again, Majin Buu suddenly screamed out, causing them all to cover up their ears. Buu's pink aura flared intensely, pushing Gomah back as he breathed heavily, clearly beginning to get very angry. Buu's head tentacle then glowed, and he fired a candy beam at Gomah. However, Gomah simply crosses his arms, and the evil third eye nullified the candy beam entirely before it could touch Gomah, with Buu looking on in surprise, and Gomah laughing. As Gomah then charges towards Buu, he stops, looking confused. Steam was now rapidly pouring out of Buu as he grunted, and a cloud of smoke appeared in the sky above where Gomah and Buu had been fighting. As the smoke would then clear, a gray, skinny version of Buu stood in front of the two. Gomah then began to laugh again as this gray Buu attacked the bigger pink Buu, treating this like entertainment for himself as he continued to watch on. Gohan and Vegeta then power up, with Gohan going into Super Saiyan 2 and Vegeta into Super Saiyan 3. Piccolo would also power up, going into Ultimate and charging in. Shin would follow right behind the 3, along with Majin Ku, Majin Doo, Glorio, and Tamagami number 3. They prepared to jump in, but suddenly stopped in shock. Buu attempts to use a candy beam on the gray version of himself, though it gets reflected back, with the pink Buu being turned into chocolate and devoured by the gray Buu. After eating good Buu, evil Buu begins to transform, more smoke appearing over the battlefield and covering everyone's vision. From the pink smoke, Super Buu was now revealed. Gomah quickly got his guard up, sensing that this version of Buu was much more powerful than the one he was fighting before. Gomah also turned, seeing that the Z-Fighters were now adults again, and realized they were definitely going to be getting in his way. To break the silence, Super Buu screams out, forcing Piccolo, who has the most sensitive hearing, to cover his ears. Buu's scream causes the smoke to dissipate, pushing everyone back, and Gomah realizes this is going to be very problematic, beginning the fight with Super Buu, the two now being evenly matched. Gohan speaks up to the others, realizing that compared to their power now that they are adults again, Buu and Gomah could definitely be beaten if they act quickly. Gomah and Buu went blow for blow, but just as soon as they seemed to be evenly matched, the third eye on Gomah's forehead began to glow again as he grew in power and began adapting to Super Buu. The Dragon Team then rushes in, ready to intervene in their fight and stop the two villains, but that idea was now completely out of the window. They watched in horror as Buu absorbs Gomah, being the only way for him to counter Gomah's adaptation. Piccolo fires a blast as Buu begins to transform, though his blast is nullified by a barrier that appears around the Majin. Buu's appearance changed, getting some new clothes, and the evil third eye now appeared on his forehead, glowing brightly, and that glow then fades as he lowered the barrier. Not only did Buu gain a massive boost in power from this absorption, but he also gained the powers of the evil third eye, meaning on top of Buu's already crazy abilities, he can now adapt. He latched triumphantly at his new power, beginning to speak to himself. Clearly, he's also gained some actual intelligence from absorbing Gomah, wondering what he should name himself now. That fool's name was Gomah, right? How about naming this new form of his Bumma? Yeah, That doesn't sound half bad. Bumma then turned, his eyes focused on our team, who were looking on in surprise. Piccolo quickly collects himself though, and charges in alongside Vegeta, both in their strongest forms. Bumma's power was insane, though after their Kai training, Vegeta and Piccolo could sense that they had the advantage currently, so they begin utilizing their training, teleporting around Buu with the Kai, and beginning to ping-pong him around. Gohan flies in with Super Saiyan 2, determined to help out the others, even while knowing he's far weaker than them and Buu. Buu looks on and wonders what he could even do in the fight himself, before Ku then tosses a cookie at Buu. Buu quickly gobbles up the cookie, his eyes lighting up as he looked on at the skirmish between Buu, Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta. Buu's eyes lock onto Vegeta's Super Saiyan 3 form, mimicking the prince's form as he transforms into his own version of Super Saiyan 3. With this newfound power, Buu flies upwards and joins in the fight to help the other three. Shin, Ku, Glorio, and the Tamagami will then float back down to the ground, realizing that they can't compete with the others in a fight of this scale, deciding to watch on. Vegeta and Piccolo both strike Buu together, knocking him far back, with Buu noticing that Gohan and Buu had now joined those other two he was fighting earlier. The group of Piccolo, Vegeta, Gohan, and Buu then rush towards Buu. Buu smirks, yelling out as he charges forward, with Piccolo flying ahead of the others due to his insane speed. Piccolo puts a hand out as he flies forward, shooting a ki blast at Buu. Buu continues to rocket forward himself, putting his hands out to grab the blast, struggling a decent bit before throwing it away, and the blast exploded in the distance. Buu then continues flying forward, blitzing past Piccolo towards Gohan, Vegeta, and Buu who are trying to catch up. Buu's third eye shined as his power began to rise, using the momentum he built up from flying to kick Vegeta, knocking the wind out of the prince and sending him flying away. Buu then turns to strike down Gohan and Buu, though Piccolo Kai is in the way and blocks the attack for them both. He grabs onto Buu's arms before doing a spin kick that Buu blocks, though his eyes widen as part of his arm was blown off from that kick. The bits from Buu's arm fall to the ground out of sight, with Buu yelling out in pain, jumping back as Piccolo smirks. Vegeta then Kai's next to Piccolo, and the two go back to attacking Buu together. As Piccolo fights Buu with Vegeta, he speaks telepathically to Gohan, telling him his plan. From what Shin has told them before about Buu, he must be destroyed in one attack. So, he wants Gohan and Buu to charge an attack at full power. Gohan was about to ask why he doesn't just let him join in their fight, but he realizes why. He and Buu can't compete with Piccolo or Vegeta, and Gohan knows that. So, Gohan tells Piccolo that he's got it, telling Buu about Piccolo's plan, and the two begin charging their attacks. Buu isn't given a moment to breathe as he's constantly being teleported around and attacked by the two, quickly getting irritated. Buu's body begins to glow as his evil third eye shines during the beatdown. Suddenly, Buu's aura flares, pushing the two away, and he rejoices. Finally, he's got a second to breathe. But just as Buu prepares his counterattack, Vegeta jumps back, and Piccolo yells out from behind the prince. Dragon Bind! From Piccolo's hand, a golden dragon, reminiscent of Shenron, flies out and wraps itself around Buu. Buu screams out, trying to break free, but this thing, it won't let him move at all. Buu's antenna glows as he tries to shoot a candy beam at the dragon, but it just simply grabs Buu's head and moves him slightly, causing the candy beam to shoot into the sky of the demon realm, away from anyone. Vegeta floats down next to Gohan and Buu, who are charging their attacks, beginning to charge his own final flash, with Shin smiling from below. He's glad to see Piccolo finally showing off those new techniques of his to the others. Piccolo derived his technique from Shin's paralysis ability, combining it with the magic he learned from his training under the Kais, and had effectively created his own technique to completely restrain an opponent. Thankfully, magic is effective against Buu, plus Piccolo heavily overpowers Buu currently, so his new technique works perfectly. The only catch is that similar to Hit's time prison from the Dragon Ball Super anime, Piccolo with the Dragon Bind technique has to focus to keep a powerful foe like Bumma restrained effectively for a long amount of time. So, Piccolo does keep his focus, the dragon around Buu continuing to hold him tight, with Buu literally not being able to do anything to fight back. Piccolo then gives a signal to the others, and they launch their attacks. From Buu, he fires a simple mouth blast, from Gohan, a Kamehameha, and from Vegeta, a final flash. The beams all envelop Buu as the Dragon Bind continues to restrain him, and the last thing that's heard is Buu's screams of pain. Buu, along with the dragon restraining him, are gone, being reduced to nothing by the three combined blasts.
fighters. Shin smiles, glad they're able to win and take down Buu, before he looks down at his feet, his expression shifting to terror. As I mentioned earlier, part of Buu's arm was blown off from Piccolo's spin kick, and had been spread around the battlefield. This was actually part of Buu's plan. He had feigned ignorance, acting like he couldn't regenerate, and thankfully, they bought it. The last enemy with regeneration they fought was Cell, and even then, Vegeta had simply atomized Cell before he could try. They'd never witnessed Cell regenerate from nothing, like he did in canon after self-destructing. So they're all struck with shock as they see Buu start to regenerate himself completely from just a few small bits around the area, having never seen anything like this before. Buu and Gohan then rush in, as Piccolo and Vegeta kai down to where Buu was. They attempt to stop him from regenerating, but they're unable to do so, as Buu once again surrounds himself with an unbreakable barrier thanks to the evil third eye. Finally, he would lower the barrier upon fully regenerating, smirking at the fighters, the eye on his forehead glowing, and Buu's power has grown dramatically. On top of regenerating from those 3 beams, the third eye has also adapted to their strength. Along with adapting to the Dragon Bind, Buu floats into the air to meet the others, ensuring Piccolo that his troublesome technique will never work on him again. Buu then flares his ki, flexing his muscles as he checks out his new power, the others shielding themselves from his energy as it radiates off the Majin. As the fighters shield themselves, Buu lifts his finger. The pink goo around Shin's feet then envelops the Kai, and Buu absorbs Shin. With the other bits of himself lying around the area, he manages to absorb Glorio, Pansy, Bulma, Dende, and the others down on the ground, unable to fight back. Thankfully, Majin Buu was able to act fast, blasting away that bit of Buu that tried to sneak up on him, then saving Arinsu as he noticed the pink goo approaching her too. The Tamagami, meanwhile, dealt with the bit of Buu trying to approach Neva. Ku tries to strategize on how he could get involved in this massive battle, and Arinsu had a sudden revelation, ordering Majin Buu to go get the book of magic items. He makes a hasty return and speed reads through the book, finding the desired page containing information on the evil third eye. High in the sky, Buu laughs in delight at all of the powers he's gained from those absorptions, also gaining Bulma's intelligence. Buu then drops his aura, with Piccolo's eyes widening as he senses Buu's power. Piccolo realizes that Buu may actually be stronger than him now, and that's gonna be a problem, because the others won't be able to keep up. With this newfound intelligence, Buu decides to play this battle out with a little more thought. He roars out, his scream causing a sonic boom that pushes the 4 fighters back. Buu had realized that Piccolo's sensitive hearing was his biggest weakness, so he decided to use that to his advantage. And as Buu continues to scream, they all bring their guards up to defend. But suddenly, the noise stops, and everything in the air goes quiet, as they notice that Buu's gone. Suddenly, Buu blitzes past all of them, and grabs the completely exhausted Majin Buu by his face, saying that he'll give this new ability he's gained a try, using the Kai to teleport away before anybody could stop him. Far away from the fight, in front of the Demon King's palace, Buu appears, and he lets go of Buu. The green Majin drops to the ground, completely exhausted. After using his own version of Super Saiyan 3 for a while, along with firing off a full power blast, Majin Buu had used up all of his power, and Buu knew this. He realized that Buu was the group's weak link. Before Buu could get up and try fighting back, Buu simply knocks him unconscious with a chop to his neck, and Buu reverts to his normal state.
Back in my previous form, you were fun to play with. I'll ensure your absorption is painless,
Buu says, speaking softly as pink goo comes out from his hand, and he uses that to absorb Majin Buu, gaining a slight boost in strength. Although Super Buu is a complete monster like he normally would be here, and by extension Bumma, remember that in canon, Mr. Satan was spared from the human extinction attack that was done by Super Buu. So in this story, the one slight bit of mercy that Bumma shows is by giving Majin Buu a quick, painless absorption, because he considers him a friend after they played together earlier. After having quickly absorbed Majin Buu, Vegeta and Piccolo instantly Kai behind Buu, preparing to strike together, but then Buu Kai's behind them both. Both of their eyes go wide as they hear Buu speak behind them, commenting that he knows how their trick works, as that Kai he absorbed has that same troublesome technique that they've been using against him this entire time. Buu grabs Vegeta by his hair and Piccolo by his head, slamming the two into each other before kicking Piccolo into the sky, chasing after him. Vegeta Kai's in the way of Buu though, throwing a kick, but Buu then vanishes, appearing behind Vegeta and slamming his fists down at the prince, sending him crashing through the ground. Gohan then flies in, striking Buu in the face, though he isn't affected at all by his punch. Gohan's expression then turns to shock as Buu counters, punching Gohan back and grabbing him by the face, slamming him into the ground and beginning to drag him across it. Vegeta gets up, beginning to heal himself, though as he looks up, his eyes widen widen, he sees Buu dragging Gohan while coming directly towards him. With a loud crash, Buu slams Gohan into Vegeta, then tossing the two into the sky. Buu twists his body, laughing out as he rushes towards them, beginning to spin like a fast-moving ball. But Piccolo then Kai-Kai's in front of Gohan and Vegeta. He grabs Buu as he spins around, telling the two to recover. He'll try and figure something out here, beginning to clash with Buu. Vegeta nods, flying back in the air with Gohan, putting his hand on himself and his other hand on Gohan. They both drop to base, as Vegeta heals himself and Gohan. Vegeta notes that if Piccolo didn't jump in right there, they'd probably be dead. He had been using Super Saiyan 3 for a while, and it had nearly run out by that point in the fight. Vegeta wishes he could just use Super Saiyan 3 without any drawbacks like Kakarot, but he brushes that thought aside. He doesn't even know what to do here. Even if they found a way to overpower Buu and destroy him in one go, then everyone he's absorbed will be dead, including Bulma. Gohan watches Piccolo battle Buu, clearly frustrated with himself, as he realizes this entire time he's been slowing the others down. Compared to Piccolo and Vegeta, he wasn't really doing anything at all in this fight. Piccolo himself was beginning to get beaten around, as Buu continually grew stronger. So even if Piccolo did have the advantage initially, by now the tables were completely turned into Buu's favor. Now, all Piccolo could really do was stall with the Kai-Kai to allow Vegeta and Gohan to heal up. Buu quickly stops Piccolo's plan though, as he demonstrates his superior speed, outperforming Piccolo's Kai-Kai with his own, backhanding the injured Piccolo across the face and knocking him back briefly. Buu then turns his attention to Gohan and Vegeta, firing off a pink blast from his mouth, the blast being too quick for either of the two Saiyans to react, while being powered down in their base forms. Without hesitation, even after burning through nearly all of his power during this fight, Piccolo uses the Kai-Kai to instantly appear in front of Gohan and Vegeta. Their eyes go wide as they hear Piccolo scream out in agony, taking the full brunt of the blast for his best friends, Gohan, and yes, even Vegeta. This blast from Buu hurt worse than anything he had ever felt before, and he writhed in pain, the blast finally dissipating around them. Piccolo drops from ultimate, back to base, his eyes blank, his body heavily scarred and burnt from Buu's attack. Vegeta and Gohan's eyes both go wide as they watch Piccolo's body slowly begin to fall, everything else around them going still. Gohan's mind wanders to the past, and he remembers when Piccolo had died years ago, saving him from Nappa's attack in a nearly identical fashion to what just happened in front of his eyes. Gohan once again feels weak and upset at himself. If he didn't slack off on his training, he could have prevented this. This entire fight, he hasn't been able to keep up with Vegeta or Piccolo. If he doesn't do something here, Vegeta will die too, and they'll never be able to save everybody that Buu is absorbed. Gohan knows he's gotten too rusty, and that's gonna cost them all here. Gohan realizes that because of his own weakness, Piccolo died trying to save him again. Piccolo's body hits the ground with a loud thud, the mocking laughter from Buu causing Gohan and Vegeta to snap. Their auras explode, creating a massive pillar of energy that causes the first demon realm to begin trembling, and Buu's surprised, actually having to shield himself from the pressure. Vegeta was in Super Saiyan 3 once again, being pretty pissed himself. Piccolo by this point was someone who Vegeta considered a close friend, and seeing the same person who absorbed his wife kill his best friend completely sets him off. Bulma had been absorbed, and Vegeta also thought of his children back home on Earth, livid at the thought alone that Buu might go after them next. Gohan was in Super Saiyan 2, his aura beginning to intensify as more blue electricity appears. His hair began to grow as his eyebrows vanished, with Gohan finally tapping into Super Saiyan 3, thanks to this massive rage boost. Though, he was able to maintain some of his sanity thanks to Vegeta calming him down a bit. Gohan and Vegeta stood side by side, both now in Super Saiyan 3, with Buu actually feeling a little fearful from the energy he was sensing, and the rage he felt emanating from their ki. Suddenly, the two Saiyans vanish, and with their new jump in power, begin to completely pummel Bumma around, with Buu completely shocked as he struggles to keep up. How did these two get so strong? How are they getting so much energy? Just a moment ago, they were nothing to him. These pests were getting more and more annoying by the second. As the two enraged Saiyans put their all into attacking Buu together, they begin dealing significant damage to the Majin. Any bits of Buu that are knocked off him from their onslaught are destroyed thoroughly, as they want to make sure that Buu can't absorb anyone else. With these brief rage boosts, they've managed to eclipse even Buu and Piccolo in power, with Gohan ahead of Vegeta. And I think this is fair, considering how we know Gohan can grow significantly with rage. But with that said, their boost in strength doesn't last. Although they they have a huge advantage currently. Their rage boosts are not enough to where they can one-shot Buu. Buu is playing it smart as well by using the Kai Kai to teleport around the battlefield the entire time. And although he is getting overpowered still, Buu himself is making sure that he's aware of what's going on, not wanting to get blasted to nothing again. As the fight ticks on, Buu smirks in delight. The evil third eye glows, and Buu's power begins to grow once again. Buu begins adapting to their rage. To make things worse, Vegeta and Gohan's power begins to lower, as Buu's power begins rising. This was due to their rage boosts only being a temporary buff, not something they can maintain for long. They also feel their stamina and ki being quickly used up due to the immense strain of Super Saiyan 3, knowing they'd be out of steam soon, along with the fact that there wasn't much they could do. They were pissed, but they knew they couldn't just destroy Buu, as that would result in all of their friends and family he's absorbed dying in the process. But what else could they really do? Even if they wanted to try and just destroy Buu immediately, he was a very tricky, clever warrior, so that wasn't going to be an easy feat. So, as Buu begins to rapidly catch up to the two Saiyans, we cut down to the ground where Piccolo was. Piccolo struggles to move his body, looking up and breathing heavily as he sees Neva approaching. Piccolo tries to heal himself, but he doesn't have the power to do so with how weak he is now. He looks up at Neva, and the older Namekian winked at Piccolo, putting his hand out. A blue orb of energy forms in Neva's hand, and Piccolo shakily tries reaching his hand out towards the older Namekian. The blue energy then moves from Neva's hand, touching Piccolo's. A strange feeling envelops Piccolo, and everything goes blank. Piccolo opens his eyes, having no idea where he was. Next to him were Kami and Nail, though they were now golden silhouettes. They say nothing, and Kami simply pointed his finger outwards, and Piccolo pushed himself off the ground, looking up at where he was pointing. His eyes go wide, seeing a Namekian Ajisa tree. It was very tall, standing like a godly entity, casting an eerie glow in the pitch-black void. Piccolo reached his hand out towards the divine tree, and from one of the branches, a single droplet of water fell onto his hand, then evaporating to mist, and a glow began to appear around Piccolo's body. Gohan, Vegeta, and Buu turned, stopping their scuffle as they looked on in awe, with Piccolo rising from the orange pillar of light, his now crimson red eyes shining as he stares directly at Buu. Gohan feels tears welling up in his eyes, happy to see that Piccolo was alive, and Vegeta smirks. From down below, Neva looks at Piccolo in this ethereal state, simply winking at him. Piccolo looked down at himself, at his hands. He noticed that they were now orange, along with his skin, and he seemed to have grown larger too. Across all three demon worlds, the skies glowed orange, all of the demon realms trembling slightly from the new godly presence that had emerged. This was the ascension of Orange Piccolo. Piccolo then lands onto the ground, the orange flames surrounding his body dissipating into steam as he looks up at Buu. Buu blinked from how bright the light from Piccolo's transformation was, looking down at his new form and scoffing. Now that Gohan and Vegeta's rage had dissipated, Vegeta realized that they had to fall back, so he Kai-Kais himself and Gohan behind Piccolo as they drop back to base again, with Buu then rushing down towards them. Piccolo simply takes a few steps forward, as Vegeta heals himself and Gohan again, the two Saiyans looking on in surprise as Buu throws a punch at Piccolo, but he doesn't even budge. Then Buu throws another and another, throwing an onslaught of attacks, but Buu's expression then turns to shock as he looks up towards Piccolo, who is now staring down at him. Buu retracts his hand, taking a step back in fear. Piccolo then pulls his own arm back, throwing a mean right hook that clearly tears off Boo's head, sending Buu, along with his head flying, all the way into the second demon realm from that singular punch alone. Piccolo turned to Gohan and Vegeta, who were still looking on in awe. He was already stronger than they were before, but now, this was just insane. Gohan can't even sense his ki for some reason, but this new transformation, his speed, and the force from that punch, it was like he had become a god. Vegeta himself can sense Piccolo's ki after the training he's done with the Kais, and he's honestly kinda terrified. Piccolo tells him, though, to quit ogling over his new form, as he just bought them some time. Piccolo reaches into his gi, pulling out the Batara earrings. But his face shifts to disappointment as he sees that they're destroyed, likely because of all the intense fighting he had done earlier. Piccolo then asks Vegeta if he has his Batara, with Vegeta's eyes going wide. Crap. Piccolo wonders what has him so worried, with Vegeta realizing he had left his Batara at Capsule Corp, explaining that his daughter Bra thought the earrings were really pretty, and she wanted to see them, so he let her take them. Piccolo facepalms, commenting that so much for Vegeta becoming a soft family man. Now, they're done. Vegeta yelled back at Piccolo, flustered and saying that wasn't true, with Gohan laughing as he scratched the back of his head, then beginning to think. Because Shin had also been absorbed by Buu, Batara fusion was completely out of the picture. Then, Gohan has a realization. The fusion dance. During Goku's last day on Earth, he had shown Piccolo the Metamorph dance, which they could use to fuse, which Piccolo would have shown Gohan and Vegeta soon after Goku departed. Vegeta scoffs, saying that dance was ridiculous. He wouldn't be caught dead doing that. But Piccolo then brings up a good point. While Piccolo with his new form definitely has the power to destroy Buu, he along with Gohan and Vegeta had vowed to find a way to save their friends before killing Buu. Vegeta then sighs, saying that fine, he'll do that silly little dance, but only because he wants to save Bumma. Piccolo smirks, telling the two that they better get it right on the first try though, as that might be the only chance they're gonna get. According to what Goku said to him on his final day, if the fusion does fail, they'll have to wait 30 minutes before they'll defuse and will be able to try again. On top of that, with Piccolo knowing he'll have to hold himself back to not destroy all of their friends inside of Buu, he knows that Buu is likely gonna adapt to even this new godly transformation he's achieved, so he's just gonna have to try and delay that adaptation as much as he can. With how fast they've already seen the evil third eye adapt, they note that it's definitely possible that it could adapt to this new form of Piccolo's in 30 minutes or less. So to ensure that there's a 100% guaranteed chance that Buu is taken down, Gohan and Vegeta will need to successfully fuse. Then, that fusion and Piccolo will save the others inside of Buu. Bumma is by far the most formidable guy they've ever faced. He can split himself apart and regenerate completely if a single bit of himself remains. Then Buu can absorb people to grow more powerful if he isn't totally annihilated in one go. But the worst part of all, if he isn't dealt with in one attack, Buu is just going to grow stronger from the third eye, causing him to adapt, along with regenerating fully. Even without absorbing them, Buu is extremely dangerous due to the fact he can just constantly regenerate and adapt to anything he's up against. Not to mention, the evil third eye is also a second means for Buu to regenerate, on top of his already crazy regeneration that he has by default. Not only are they fighting their strongest, most dangerous foe yet, but they'll risk killing their friends and family, along with risking the destruction of Earth's Dragon Balls if they mess this up, as Dende was also absorbed by Buu earlier. With the Demon Realm's Piranga already having granted Glorio's wish, the only wish-granting dragon they would be able to rely on should Dende die, to their knowledge at least, is Piranga back on New Namek. But even then, Piccolo brings up that if they do fully destroy Buu, and all of their friends in the process, they may not even be able to leave the Demon Realm to revive them. Glorio, Pansy, Bulma, Hybis, and Shin, all of whom had experience with Demon Realm ships, once again had been absorbed by Buu. Gohan, Vegeta, and Piccolo, despite their smarts, have no idea how to operate those things. As they continue discussing their plan, Majin Ku flies over to the three, holding the book of magic items. Ku informs them of the weakness that he found, that to get rid of the evil third eye, they'd have to strike Bumma on the back of the neck 3 times in a row. Majin Ku knows that he's too weak to even think of getting involved physically, but he was at least able to find out this information. Gohan, Vegeta, and Piccolo take in this info, glad to have finally found one weakness in Majin Buu. Piccolo himself says that he'll put that info to the test, telling Ku that he'll get a chance to shine. Gohan and Vegeta then jump back, with Vegeta lowering his own power to match Gohan's. The two begin practicing the dance again, remembering how to do it still, though they were feeling nervous about this. Everything was on the line here. Buu then puts his head back on himself and screams out from the second demon world, his roar being heard throughout each of the 3 realms. Ku begins to panic a little bit, asking Piccolo if he's sure about him getting involved, with Piccolo just saying to trust him. Buu then begins flying downward at incredible speed, the eye on his forehead glowing as his power had already begun rising some, adapting from that powerful blow Piccolo dealt him earlier. The Majin coats his fist in pink energy as he rockets downward, throwing a mighty punch at Piccolo's stomach. However, Piccolo remains still, simply hardening his muscles as the punch connects, sending out a massive shockwave across the first demon world. From farther back, Gohan and Vegeta are amazed by the power on display as they shield themselves from the wind. Then, the air goes calm as everything begins to settle. Buu screams out in pain as his arm has exploded from punching Piccolo. Though, as he begins to automatically regenerate it, Piccolo kicks his head clean off. For every limb that Buu regenerates, Piccolo would tear off another one in its place. Every punch and kick that Piccolo throws creates holes that destroy Buu's body, causing him agonizing pain. As Piccolo then gives Buu a chance to regenerate, he comments that Buu's lucky he's gotta heavily hold himself back here. Otherwise, he would have already destroyed Buu in an instant. Before Buu could respond, Piccolo once again unleashes his Dragon Bind, and the Golden Dragon appears, this time having an orange glow as it wraps around Buu, restraining him tightly. Buu laughs, saying that he's already adapted to this move. He attempts to break free, but then realizes he can't. Piccolo smirks, saying he thinks he's figured out Buu's adaptation.
Buu may have adapted to the Dragon Bind, but that was back before this new awakening Piccolo's gotten. Now that Piccolo's ascended to a new level that isn't even comparable to his previous state, all of his techniques and abilities by proxy have also become much more powerful. So, it seems that not only will Buu have to adapt to this new form of Piccolo's, but he's gonna have to adapt to his techniques again, as this time they're all enhanced by his new godly form. Buu tries shooting a candy beam at Piccolo while he talks, telling him to shut up. But Piccolo simply coats his hand in magic and smacks the candy beam aside, smirking as Majin Ku flies up behind Buu. Buu's eyes widen in shock, not even realizing Ku had snuck up on him, as his attention was solely fixated on Piccolo during this fight. As Piccolo uses more of his power to restrain Buu with the Dragon Bind, Majin Ku strikes Buu on the back of the neck with the Book of Magic Items. Buu screams out, yelling for him to stop, but Ku then strikes Buu on the back of the neck a second time, and Buu actually begins feeling worried. If he loses the third eye, he's done for here, and he knows that, knowing he'll also lose the power he's gained if the third eye is gone. Piccolo then yells out for Ku to do it. However, Buu then shouts out, screaming loudly, with Piccolo being forced to cover his ears, losing focus of the Dragon Bind. With Piccolo's focus hindered, Buu is able to wiggle free slightly from the bind, his head tentacle whipping around to smack Ku before he could land the final strike on Buu's neck, knocking Majin Ku unconscious with that singular blow.
The eye on Buu's head then shines, as his entire body glows, clearly being angry. Piccolo lets go of his ears, beginning to ramp up his own power to continue restraining Buu, but then to his shock, Buu's body grows in size as his power spikes again, flaring his ki as a purple aura explodes outwards, to the point the Golden Dragon couldn't hold him anymore, exploding around Buu. With this brief flare in ki, Piccolo's pushed back in the air, and the moment Piccolo's sent back, Buu charges down to absorb the unconscious Majin Ku, adding another fighter to his collection. Buu laughs as he absorbs Majin Ku, saying that although he did come close to removing the evil third eye, a copycat Majin could never hope to compete with him. From this absorption, Buu simply gains a slight boost in power and intelligence, though his clothes remain unchanged. Buu then turned to Piccolo as he floated back into the sky, with Piccolo's eyes widening in shock. Although he's been heavily holding back, Buu has already caught up to him in power from adapting, and Buu has also grown notably in size, now being the same height as Piccolo, looking a little more buff as well. Piccolo analyzed what just happened, muttering to himself. He realizes that the more strategically he tries to fight here, the stronger Buu's gonna get. With Buu, the phrase, "whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger," is true in the most literal sense. But what else can he do? Whatever doesn't kill Buu is literally just making him stronger. Buu then rushes towards Piccolo and begins his own counterattack. Now, Piccolo was feeling the attacks. Before, Buu's attacks didn't even register, but now he was actually needing to defend himself, quickly beginning to use more of his own power. Piccolo was struck with awe as he blocked Buu's attacks, commenting to himself that Buu's rate of growth was genuinely insane. He knew Saiyans could grow and evolve quickly in the heat of battle, but this growth from Buu was on a whole other level. Buu's attacks
attacks now begin breaking through Piccolo's defenses, allowing him to land clean strikes onto the Namekian, with Piccolo noticing that his own attacks were doing less and less damage as the fight continued. Buu then throws a front kick at Piccolo, which sends him farther away, with Piccolo deciding he's done holding back. He tosses his shirt aside, his ki rising further as he now shows off his full power, with Buu watching on and laughing. With Majin Buu being absorbed, Buu now has the power to also mimic transformations. This new power of yours, it's divine energy, isn't it? I think that will suit me quite nicely, too, Buu says, before he powers up as well. He copies and goes into his own version of Piccolo's orange Namekian form. The pink aura around Buu becomes a massive pillar of light, with Buu's eyes shifting into an orange color as pink flames begin surrounding his body, similar to that of Piccolo's before. Then, his body grows larger in size, even more buff, his skin shifting to an orange tint as Piccolo himself watches on in horror. From the pink supernova of light, Orange Bumma arises.
Don't worry. The pain is but momentary. Death will follow. The more you anger me, the more you increase the anguish that will precede your death. How do you like this? You die!
It is the tertian oculus.
What a sad sight! Enough tomfoolery! Now we fight! Try surviving this! Take this! Special beam cannon! Wipe that smirk from your face! A lucky shot is simply that! What a sad sight! I'll put you out of your misery. Take this!
Suddenly, Buu appears in front of Piccolo, uppercutting him, and then stretching his head tentacle outward, smacking Piccolo down to the ground and quickly chasing after him. Piccolo quickly recovers, however, and as Buu gets closer, he pulls his fist back, though Buu does the same, with the two striking each other across the face, both being sent back. Piccolo stops himself, seeing Buu charging at him, slamming a punch into his gut that causes Piccolo to cough up blood, sending him flying again. Buu then bounces off the ground as he once again charges at Piccolo, with the Namekian's eyes beginning to glow. He apologizes to his long-dead father, saying he'll be stealing his move, with Piccolo firing an eye beam at Buu as he flies closer. Buu quickly retracts his head into his body as he continues flying, though as he pops his head back into place, he's punched across the face by Piccolo, barely budging as the evil third eye shines again. The eye on his forehead fires a blast, with Piccolo's eyes going wide, realizing his arm has been blasted clean off. Buu then headbutts Piccolo, grabbing his face as he falls back, just to slam him into the ground. Then Buu kai-kais with Piccolo as he holds his face, now appearing in Gomah's palace, and slamming him into a wall. Then they appear where Gomah's demon ships were, slamming Piccolo through the window of one. Again and again, Buu uses the kai-kai to teleport around whilst beating Piccolo down. He teleports into the air and drops Piccolo, spin-kicking him into Gomah's throne room, where he crashes into the floor. Bumma then teleports in front of Piccolo, grabbing him by the leg as he tosses him into the sky. Piccolo crashes through the floors of the building and out of the roof, where Buu fires a flurry of pink blasts that follow, destroying the entire building in the process as Piccolo's battered by the energy attacks. A pink explosion forms in the sky, with Piccolo being sent onto some of the building's rubble that had been sent into the air. Buu then kai-kais, punching him through more debris, then kicking him, then punching him across the face. Then he throws a kick and another, before he grabs Piccolo and teleports down to the ground, tossing him across the floor as he rolls backwards. Piccolo quickly flips back onto his feet, breathing heavily, but he stands tall against Buu. Buu walks towards Piccolo slowly, knowing he clearly holds the advantage now. He laughs, saying that Piccolo was only delaying the inevitable by continuing to fight, as they both know he can't win here. Piccolo responds that yeah, that might be true, but he's not alone here. Buu's confused, and then screams out, blinded, as a bright white light appears from farther back behind Piccolo. From the heavenly pillar of light, a new figure rose into the sky, landing on the ground. He looked like Gohan, almost like Vegeta. It was both fused into one. As Buu stumbled back from being momentarily blinded, he began to gain his vision back, his guard still lowered though. Buu opened his eyes, the last thing he saw being the boot from Vegahan's foot crashing against his face, and this kick from Vegahan sent Buu far away into another of the demon worlds, like Piccolo had done earlier. He then drops down next to Piccolo, turning and having a smirk on his face, declaring that he is Vegahan. Piccolo asks what took them so long, and Vegahan scratches the back of his head, apologizing. They really wanted to make sure they got the fusion dance right on the first try, so they had to practice the movements a little bit, with Piccolo just glad they finally arrived, as to be honest, he wasn't sure how much longer he could last fighting Buu by himself. Yellow sparks flared up around Vegahan, his hair turning golden as his face turned serious, with Piccolo regenerating his arm and healing himself now that he finally had the chance. The two then faced forward, towards where Buu had been sent flying, looking up at the portal connecting the first demon world to the others, standing side by side. Vegahan comments that Piccolo's new form really was something, his aura beginning to intensify as he goes into Super Saiyan 3. Even while fused as a Super Saiyan 3, they're surprised. Piccolo was actually on their level, maybe even stronger. Thanks to Vegeta having some God Ki from training with the Kais too, Vegahan is able to sense Piccolo's godly power. Piccolo responds with a chuckle, saying Buu's even surpassed him now because of how long they took, so they'll need to work together to deal with him. Vegahan says right, and he puts his fist out towards Piccolo, with Piccolo doing the same thing. The two fist bump, their respective golden and orange auras beginning to merge with each other as they share their energies. Piccolo's godly ki, along with Vegahan's massive surplus of energy, swirl together, both warriors now having double auras, similar to Trunks' Super Saiyan Rage in the Dragon Ball Super anime. For Piccolo, he had his orange aura as the base one, then a Super Saiyan-like aura as the second layer, with some blue sparks mixed in. As for Vegahan, his was a mirror of Piccolo's. His Super Saiyan 3 aura was the base, with an orange flame as his second layer. The entirety of the demon realm now had a faint orange and yellow glow to it, though it wasn't shaking or trembling anymore from the power on display. Now, everything was calm. It was as if the demon realm itself knew things would be okay. Together, the warriors with strength that had ascended beyond power from fusion itself and into godhood vowed that they will save their friends, their families, along with the entire demon realm.
Then, both Vegeta and Piccolo vanished from sight with a Kai. From the third demon world, where Buu had been kicked to, he looked around, wondering why it looked like there was a sunset. He saw the various demons wandering around, and put his hand to the sky, preparing to kill them all with an attack, though suddenly his eyes went wide as the two fighters appeared beside him. Piccolo gripped his hands together, throwing a double axe handle down onto Buu's head, sending him rocketing down through the demon world gateways. Vegeta then rocketed downwards, catching up to Buu with his speed alone as he flew through the gateway to the second demon world, then the first, striking Buu with a powerful kick that sent him back up through the gateways again. They battered Buu back and forth from demon world to demon world, with Buu being completely unable to fight back. Then, as Buu sent back to the third demon world, Piccolo slammed Buu downward again, using the Kai to appear next to Vegeta in the first demon world. Buu's beaten form then quickly appeared in front of him, stopping himself as he looked at the two fighters. He yelled out as the dimensions holding the entire demon realm together began to crack, starting to crumble from the pressure. Though Piccolo and Vegeta aren't fazed by his scream, the double auras surrounding their bodies shield them from his screams. Buu yells out, shouting that he is the most powerful being in the universe, saying that he'll kill them all, and then the entirety of the demon realm. He's gonna annihilate every single being in the demon realm, and then everybody in the outside universe too. But Buu's quickly silenced, paralyzed in place by telekinesis from Vegeta. Buu's eyes widen as he looks around while trapped, shouting no, as Vegeta, with his other hand, fires a blast of rainbow energy into the sky, effortlessly knitting the dimensions back together, reverting all the damage Buu tried to do. While keeping Buu trapped, both Vegeta and Piccolo constantly zipped around him, pummeling the pink Majin with a speed and ferocity unlike anything he had ever experienced before, unlike anyone has seen before, against two fusion tier fighters, both of whom are now being amped by God Ki and each other's powers, ascending to a new state entirely. Even the evil third eye couldn't process where to begin adapting. They moved so quickly as they pummeled Buu that trying to calculate their speed would be pointless. With their combined ascension, Vegeta and Piccolo were beyond even instantaneous movement like the Kai. As Buu's completely ragdolled, he tries to summon a barrier with the evil third eye, though to his horror, it shatters like glass immediately. He even tries to Kai away, but they were already there. It's like they were able to see into the future with their speed alone, as if they were everywhere at once. With Buu realizing he had no way to escape, they were above him in every caliber. As Buu got pummeled, more bits of him got beaten off his body, and he attempted to use these bits of himself to absorb Piccolo, though as soon as the pink goo neared Piccolo, it was incinerated from the godly heat of the double aura emanating from the Namekian. He tries to absorb Vegeta as well, but the same thing occurs with him. No matter what Buu did, he couldn't even touch these two without destroying himself in the process. The energy radiating off these two burned with the heat of thousands of neutron stars, though they controlled their ki so precisely that nothing in the demon realm was burnt or harmed at all by their cosmic light show of energy except for Buu. Every blow they hit Buu with begins burning more and more of his body to nothing. Buu didn't pay any mind to this though, as he simply believed in his own regeneration to deal with the damage he was taking while he was constantly beaten, though he realizes something bad is happening. His body wasn't automatically regenerating, which it should have been doing even while he was massively overpowered like this. So while he's beaten, he tries to manually regenerate, horror crossing his face as he realizes that he can't. He even tries regenerating with the evil third eye, but even that wasn't able to heal these injuries, and being unable to regenerate in any shape or form now, Buu begins panicking. Not only did the energy from Vegeta and Piccolo burn with the heat of things beyond anything the natural universe could produce, but their double auras were also infused with magic, being the perfect counter to nullify Buu's regeneration entirely. As Buu's body begins slowly incinerating bit by bit, unable to heal or regenerate, Vegeta then Kai's behind Buu, slicing the Majin cleanly in two with a Keyblade. Then, with his other hand, another Keyblade forms, slicing Buu further as he cuts through his arms and legs like a hot knife against butter. Buu tries to fire a candy beam out of his antenna, being his last line of defense, though as soon as they touch Vegeta and Piccolo's double auras, the candy beams are nullified by their magic. Then, Vegeta cuts off Buu's antennae, saying that he won't be using that move anymore on them. Buu then screamed as he fired a blast from his mouth, but he's frozen in place by telekinesis once again, this time by Piccolo. Piccolo wags his finger mockingly, telling Buu to behave. With Buu sliced up and unable to regenerate, Vegeta takes advantage of this, as he flares his double auras, enhancing them even further with his own magic, then flying inside of Buu's body. Vegeta blitzes around the insides of Buu with his insane speed, freeing everyone that had been absorbed from their cocoons, faster than an instant. Although he was hesitant, he also decided to free the fatter version of Buu, since
sensing the good inside of him. Vegeta then flies out of Buu, and with his speed, he's able to get everyone outside of Buu and onto the ground below, far away from the fight, where they'd be safe. And their cocoons were already beginning to incinerate from Vegeta simply touching them. After ensuring everybody was out of Buu, Vegeta teleports back up to Piccolo's side, the two watching as Buu begins to de-transform. Bumma reverts to Super Buu, then to Kid Buu, all whilst being mangled up, unable to regenerate, still paralyzed by Piccolo's telekinesis, looking up in fear at both Piccolo and Vegeta. Piccolo then frees Buu from the paralysis, grabbing Kid Buu's head and tossing him high into the sky. Buu tumbled through the air, grunting and not even knowing what's going on. Without everyone he absorbed, he was back to his original primal self, lacking any intelligence, along with all the power he obtained from the evil third eye. And although he was originally built for pure violence and terror, he felt nothing but fear, with Kid Buu then feeling himself stop in the sky, though it wasn't of his own doing. Vegetan's hand was outstretched in Buu's direction, utilizing Shin's paralysis technique once again, and restraining the small imp in place. Then, his hands lowered to his side as he stood next to Piccolo. For a moment, everything went quiet again. All that could be heard was the swoosh of their auras.
Dragon Masenko
Gamma Burst! With a powerful yell, both Vegeta and Piccolo use all of their power as they launch their final attacks at Buu, their yellow and orange double auras around their bodies, mixing together into their beam attacks. As Buu is restrained, the beams fly closer, the Gamma Burst Kamehameha and Dragon Masenko swirling together as the Golden Dragon soars behind them, their attacks combining into a raging storm of divine, godly power that illuminates the heavens. Time seems to slow down around Buu as the attacks inch closer. He feels a primal urge to run, to escape, to get away, but he couldn't even move. Buu's eyes were wide with fear, as from his perspective, it looked like a massive golden dragon was flying towards him, whilst also shooting a beam of rainbow ki from its mouth. That was the last thing Buu saw, before the dragon roared out, the pink Majin being consumed entirely in a mesmerizing explosion of rainbow light. The beams continued to travel throughout the various demon worlds, the Tamagamis watching on from each respective world. Then, the beam finally dissipates along with the dragon. Beautiful particles of stardust begin falling like snowflakes across the entirety of the demon realm, across all three worlds, with Vegeta and Piccolo then turning to each other and smiling. Not one trace of Buu remained. The demon realm, no, the entire universe, and possibly beyond, had been saved. Vegeta then defuses, with Gohan and Vegeta back in their base forms. Super Saiyan 3 drained their fusion timer much faster than they anticipated, so it was a good thing they all acted quickly with defeating Buu. Piccolo then drops to his base form as well, exhausted after fighting for so long with whatever that orange form was. The trio then land down on the ground below, helping each other to stand. As they walk towards the others on the ground, Piccolo and Vegeta heal each other, then healing Gohan. After so much constant fighting, they were finally able to relax. They're relieved to see that Buu's cocoons had been completely incinerated, with the others just being unconscious still. As they walk over, Majin Ku is the first to wake up. He gets up, quickly noticing that Gomah was unconscious, and had the evil third eye still, so he acted quickly. He grabs the book of magic items which had been absorbed with him, and knocked Gomah on the back of the neck 3 times in a row, taking the eye as it popped out, sighing in relief. As Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta walk over, Ku also walks over to them, holding the eye in his hand and giving it to Piccolo. Ku tells them that with Gomah still out cold, he took the eye from him, but asked what they should do with it. Piccolo's eyes widened, having completely forgotten about Gomah and the evil third eye after they got a second to relax. But he thanks Ku for remembering. Then, Piccolo without hesitation crushes the evil third eye in his hand, and they watch as it turned to dust. Piccolo says that although the evil third eye would be a great asset to have for themselves and any of their allies, he decides after all the trouble it has had while fighting Buu, it's far too dangerous to keep around, to which Gohan and Vegeta agreed. Shin woke up next, and nearly had a panic attack as he saw that Fat Buu was asleep next to him, to which Gohan tells him he doesn't need to worry. They could sense that this Buu wasn't like the other evil one they had been fighting against. After After all, he had just followed Arensu's order to fight Gomah during the beginning of all this chaos. Plus, Vegeta reassured Shin, even if Buu decides to act out, they had their adult bodies back now, and were more than capable enough of dealing with him. At least, he and Piccolo were. Soon enough, the others wake up as well, asking what happened, with Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta then explaining pretty much everything that happened after they were absorbed. As they explain, Majin Do and Majin Buu wake up, beginning to play in the background and run around, chasing each other while Arensu and Ku try to calm them down. Vegeta asks what was up about Piccolo's orange form, and he responds that he doesn't really know. He was on the brink of death, practically about to die, until Neva used some sort of strange magic that not only healed him completely, but also awakened whatever that form was. Gohan asks if he can tap into it again, with Piccolo saying that no, he can't. Vegeta would then ask if Piccolo's been hiding that form during their training, but Piccolo says he hasn't. He swears this was his limit, he says, as he transforms into Ultimate. But he's glad to see that Vegeta and Gohan finally got Super Saiyan 3, which Vegeta scoffs at, saying to call it Ultra Vegeta 1. He vows that after seeing the insane power Piccolo displayed with whatever that orange form of his was, he's gonna catch back up and surpass him, with Piccolo telling Vegeta to keep dreaming. Gohan then speaks up, saying he's gotten a bit rusty, but after this, he's definitely gonna get back in shape. Gohan, after realizing how far behind he is compared to Vegeta and Piccolo, especially after Piccolo got another new form too, vows that he will catch back up to the others. Piccolo reminds Gohan that he has the greatest potential out of the three of them, so he better start putting that to use. He says that although he's been training with the Kais a ton, he wouldn't mind coming back to Earth to get Gohan back in shape. He kind of misses being back on Earth now that he's thinking about it. As they continue to chat with each other, Gomah wakes up. He immediately realizes that he's much smaller than he was before, and taps his forehead, realizing the evil third eye was gone. He tries to sneakily get up and tiptoe away without the others noticing, but then Majin Buu points him out with a giggle, saying the scary man was super small now. The others turn their attention to see what's got Buu laughing, with Gomah knowing he's screwed. And Gomah is right in that assumption, because Gomah is then sentenced to prison for a century, as Majin Ku becomes the new Demon King, because technically he did defeat Gomah by taking the third eye from him while he was unconscious. Now with everything finally settled, the Daima saga can come to an end. With the help of Glorio, Pansy, Bulma, Hybus, and some other demons, they get a couple much bigger ships repaired and ready for takeoff. Requiring these large ships, because they have a larger group going back home with them this time. Because they want to keep an eye on Buu, they're taking him back to Earth. And Majin Du also decides to come along. He's formed a close friendship with Buu, tagging along with his buddy. Thankfully, Piccolo, Vegeta, and Shin, with their magic and creation abilities, can create plenty of candy for the two to munch on, so they can relax during the trip home. Although they feel a little embarrassed for using their powers for such a mundane task. Majin Ku is sad to see his brother go, but wishes him well, while Neva simply winks at Piccolo, telling him that he'll figure out how to use that new power of his again one day. And so, our group says their final goodbyes to the friends they've made along this journey in the Demon Realm, making their way back to Earth. After dropping their friends back home, Glorio and Pansy wave to everyone before returning to the Demon Realm. Piccolo puts his arm around Gohan and the other around Vegeta as they stand on the lookout, with Dende, Bulma, Shin, Buu, and Du looking off into the distance and smiling, happy to have taken down the strongest enemies they've ever faced. For now, at least. From here, some more time would begin passing as we get a little epilogue. Shin returns to his world, and this time the only one coming there to train is Vegeta. He now had multiple new goalposts to strive towards surpassing. The crazy power he and Gohan had while fused, the immense power that Bumma displayed, and finally, to surpass Piccolo's new form. Vegeta still keeps in check with his family on Earth, obviously, but with Trunks and Brock growing older and becoming more independent, they were getting a little more rebellious, and were wanting to take care of themselves on their own more. So, for pretty much all the time Vegeta isn't at home with his family, he's intensely training on the sacred world of the Kais, deciding that he'll create some techniques too. After seeing Piccolo show off his own unique techniques, Vegeta decides that he'll create his own too. Meanwhile, Piccolo has decided to stay on Earth for a while. He even chips in to help babysit Goten while Gohan's at work, which does embarrass him a little, but Chi-Chi is very thankful for his help. The main thing he stays on Earth for, though, obviously, is getting Gohan back into shape. He puts Gohan through some very intense and rigorous training over this time, which greatly helps in Gohan getting his combat skills refined once again. Throughout this time, Gohan also gets a new house with Videl, thanks to Mr. Satan and his riches. With nowhere else to go, Gohan actually brings in Majin Du and Majin
Majin Buu to live with Mr. Satan, meaning Buu and Mr. Satan still become very good friends. Though this time, they've also got Majin Buu, and eventually, these three would actually decide to adopt a puppy, taking care of it together. Though, not all things are as peaceful as they seem. As time passes, a certain god of destruction awakens from his slumber, having a premonition of two rivals that will appear. One, a large man with pointy ears, and another short man with very spiky hair. But this is gonna be where we'll go ahead and finish off part 2 of What If Goku Died on Namek. I hope you guys enjoyed this very different Daima saga, as I felt this is a pretty interesting way to mix Buu into everything and turn this into a more unique arc. This won't be the only saga I'm gonna have big changes happen to though, but you'll just have to see what I've got in store for the future parts. Now one thing I know some of you might be wondering is why I never used the fusion bugs here. As much as I would have liked to, we literally have no info about the effects they have. We know that they can be used to let 3 people fuse into one, and although a triple fusion between Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta would have been really cool, again, we don't really know any of the implications of the fusion bugs, like if they're permanent, or if the fusion can even be split, or undone at all. So instead of just making a bunch of assumptions for that to work, I just went with the basic, bare bones, classic fusion dance. Overall though, I've had a blast writing and creating this, and it's likely going to end up being one of my longest videos as just a singular part, which is kind of crazy. If you have some ideas of your own you'd like to see for the future of the story, or any other what-if ideas in general, let me know. You might end up seeing it as a video one day. Who knows? Also, go show some love to the artists I've had create various pieces of artwork for this video. They've truly helped in bringing some of these scenes to life, and I'll be leaving credits to all of them in the description below, along with where you can support them on screen. And as always, I hope all of you have a good day, good night, whatever time it is for you, and until next time, see ya!